There is a suburb northeast of Paris called Bondy. It is not the Paris of the Eiffel Tower, not the Paris of the Champs-Élysées, not the Paris that tourists photograph and put on postcards. Bondy is the other Paris, the real Paris that most visitors never see, a dense, vibrant, working-class neighborhood of concrete apartment blocks and narrow streets. A place where families from Cameroon, Algeria, Morocco, Senegal, and a dozen other countries came searching for a better life and built communities that are at once French and something more. A living, breathing mixture of cultures, languages, and traditions. It is a place with problems, poverty, unemployment, streets where young men with no future sometimes make bad choices. But it is also a place full of life, of music, of sport, of families who came from nothing and taught their children to want everything. And on the 20th of December 1998, in this suburb of immigrants and dreamers and working people, a baby boy was born. His name was Kylian Mbappé. His father, Wilfried Mbappé, had come from Cameroon, a man who loved football the way some men love breathing. He had played at local level, never reaching the heights he perhaps dreamed of, but he had found his purpose in coaching. For 25 years, he would be the heartbeat of Bondy, the local football club, coaching generation after generation of young boys in the streets and pitches of the neighborhood. His mother, Faiza Lamari, was of Algerian Kabyle descent. She was not just a sports fan. She was an athlete, a professional handball player who had competed at a high level before retiring and channeling that fierce competitive energy into raising her children. Between the two of them, a Cameroonian football coach and an Algerian handball player, they created something remarkable. A sporting household where discipline, ambition, and the love of competition were as natural as breathing. And into that household came Kylian. He kicked a football for the first time at 4 years old. By 6, he had joined his father's club as Bondy. And within days, everyone who watched him knew they were seeing something different. Not just a talented boy, not just a fast boy, something rare. Something that only comes along once in a generation. The president of Bondy said later, "When Kylian was playing for us, I used to put him with players 2 or 3 years older. He was too good for his own age group. You could see it immediately. The way he moved, the way he thought, it was just different." In his bedroom in Bondy, young Kylian had a poster on the wall, Cristiano Ronaldo. He worshipped Ronaldo, the pace, the technique, the hunger, the relentless drive to be the best. But there was another player he admired even more deeply, Thierry Henry. Henry was everything to Kylian, a French footballer, the greatest striker France had ever produced before Mbappé himself came along. A man who had grown up in circumstances not entirely unlike Kylian's own. Mbappé would later say, "I wanted to be the best like Ronaldo, but I also wanted to be French, to make France proud. And for that, Thierry Henry was my model. 2 inspirations, 2 templates, 1 obsession to be the greatest." Word of the boy from Bondy spread quickly through French football's scouting networks. When Kylian was around 11 or 12 years old, the calls started coming. Real Madrid wanted to bring him to Spain for a trial. A boy from Bondy at 12 years old, invited to the most famous football club in the world. He went, he impressed. He came home. Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, all of the biggest clubs in Europe expressed serious interest. But something more important happened first. He was selected for INF Clairefontaine, France's national football academy set in the forests outside Paris, where the French Football Federation takes the most gifted young players in the country and develops them in an environment of total focus. Previous graduates included Thierry Henry himself, Nicolas Anelka, William Gallas. Kylian spent 2 years at Clairefontaine, 2 years of learning, of being challenged, of being surrounded for the first time by players who were as good as he was. And then, at the age of 14, he made the decision that would change everything. He joined Monaco, not Real Madrid, not Arsenal, not Chelsea, Monaco. His father made the decision with him. They believed Monaco would give Kylian something the bigger clubs might not: playing time, development, a chance to grow without the crushing pressure of immediate expectations. It was the right decision. On the 19th of December 2015, the day before his 17th birthday, Kylian Mbappé made his professional debut for Monaco. He came on as a substitute. He was 16 years old, the youngest player ever to appear for Monaco's first team. And the following season, the 2016 to 2017 season, the football world got its first full look at what was coming. Monaco were not supposed to win the league that year. They were not supposed to go on an extraordinary run in the Champions League that took them all the way to the semi-finals. They were a young team, an exciting team, a team full of pace and hunger and ambition. And at the center of it all, a teenager from Bondy who ran faster than anyone, turned sharper than anyone, and scored goals with a composure that had no right to belong to someone his age. His lightning-quick pace. He has been measured as fast as 38 kilometers per hour, and goal-scoring ability played a pivotal role in Monaco's unlikely League One title triumph in 2017. 38 kilometers per hour. That is faster than many Olympic sprinters, in a football stadium, with defenders around him, with the ball at his feet. He was 17, he was 18, and the entire football world was watching. In August 2017, Kylian Mbappé joined Paris Saint-Germain, initially on loan, then permanently for a reported fee of 180 million euros, the second most expensive transfer in the history of football. He was 19 years old, and his arrival at PSG came with an extraordinary gesture that the football world talked about for years. He donated his entire first season's wages to charity, every single euro. He said he did not feel comfortable earning that amount of money at his age, that the money should go to people who needed it more. The boy from Bondy had not forgotten where he came from, but what happened next had nothing to do with wages or transfers or contracts. It had to do with what happened in Russia in the summer of 2018, the FIFA World Cup. France arrived with a squad of extraordinary talent. And then there was this 19-year-old from Bondy. He played a crucial role in guiding France to victory in the 2018 FIFA World Cup, scoring 4 goals during the tournament, including one in the final against Croatia. His performances earned him the FIFA World Cup Best Young Player award. 4 goals, including a goal in the final. At 19 years old, the last teenager to score in a World Cup final before Mbappé had been Pele. In 1958, Kylian Mbappé joined Pele as the only teenage goalscorers in World Cup final history. France won 4-2. Mbappé stood on the pitch at the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow, a gold medal around his neck, the World Cup trophy nearby, confetti raining from the sky. He was 19 years old. He had just won the World Cup. And when the French team returned to Paris, the streets were lined with millions of people. But among all the players, it was Mbappé who was lifted highest. The boy from Bondy, the boy whose father had coached at a 10th-tier club for 25 years, had just won the biggest prize in football. What followed at PSG over the next 6 years was a relentless accumulation of records, goals, and trophies. He monopolized the top scorer prize between 2018 and 2024, establishing himself as the first person to claim the accolade in 6 successive seasons. 6 consecutive League One top scorer awards, never done before. He became PSG's all-time top scorer, surpassing legends like Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Edinson Cavani. He won 6 League One titles, but something was missing: the Champions League. And through all of this, there was one club that kept waiting: Real Madrid. The 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. France arrived as defending champions, and in Mbappé, now 23, they had arguably the most dangerous forward on the planet. He was electric throughout the tournament, and in the final, against Lionel Messi's Argentina, he produced one of the most extraordinary individual performances in World Cup final history. Argentina led 2-0 with 10 minutes remaining. The game seemed over. And then Mbappé took over. He scored in the 81st minute. He scored in the 83rd minute. 2 goals in 2 minutes. 2-2, extra time. Argentina scored again through Messi. Mbappé scored again from the penalty spot. 3-3 in a World Cup final. Penalties, France lost. But in the history of football, nobody had ever done what Kylian Mbappé had done that day. a hat trick in a World Cup final. The first in a World Cup final since Geoff Hurst of England in 1966. He had scored 3 goals in a World Cup final and still been on the losing side. He sat on the pitch after the penalty shootout, alone in the middle of the stadium, with his medal around his neck, a silver medal, a loser's medal, his head in his hands. The cameras found him and stayed on him. This 23-year-old who had just scored a hat trick in a World Cup final and lost. The image went around the world, and something interesting happened. The world, which had already respected Mbappé, began to love him, because in that image there was something completely and recognizably human. He was devastated, not performing, not calculating, not thinking about his image, just a young man who had given everything and come up one step short. He got up, he hugged his teammates, he went home, and he went back to work. On the 14th of June 2024, Real Madrid officially announced that Kylian Mbappé had signed for the club on a free transfer after his PSG contract expired, the most coveted player in the world, joining the most successful club in history for free. Mbappé stood in a white Real Madrid shirt at the Bernabeu Stadium, 60,000 fans cheering. The club of Zidane, of Ronaldo, of Benzema, the club of 15 Champions League titles. He was 25 years old, and his first season at Real Madrid was extraordinary. Mbappé scored the most goals of any Real Madrid player in their debut season, netting 43 in 2024 to 2025 to beat the previous record, 43 goals in his first season. He won the La Liga Top Scorer award with 31 goals, more than any French player had ever scored in a top-flight season in England, Spain, Germany, or Italy. And in 2025, he equaled Cristiano Ronaldo's record of the most goals scored in a single calendar year for Real Madrid. 59 goals in a calendar year for Real Madrid at 26 years old. As of July 2026, only one player has scored more World Cup goals than the 27-year-old Mbappé, who has passed Miroslav Klose, Ronaldo, Gerd Müller, Just Fontaine, and Peel at the 2026 tournament. France's all-time leading scorer, 23 career trophies, including a World Cup, multiple League One titles and trophies with Real Madrid. A man who donated his first season's wages to charity. A man who still visits as Bondy when he can. Who said, when asked about his identity, "I have always felt French. I do not renounce my origins because they are part of who I am. But I have made my whole life in France, the son of Cameroon and Algeria, the pride of Bondy, the captain of France, the number 10 of Real Madrid, Kylian Mbappé, at 27 years old, still at the beginning of what could be the greatest career in football history. There is a pitch in Bondy, a small pitch next to an apartment block, where a father once coached young boys to love the game, where a small child first learned to run with a ball and found that he was faster than anyone around him. That pitch still exists. And today, because of what happened to the boy who grew up next to it, there are more children than ever playing on it. Children who look up at the sky the same way Kylian once did, and dream the same dream, that one day they too might stand in the Bernabeu, might lift a World Cup trophy, might make their suburb proud. The boy from Bondy showed them it was possible, and that, perhaps more than any goal, any record, any trophy, is his greatest gift to the world. Thank you for watching Shadow Files. If this story moved you, subscribe for more. New stories every week.